Hello and welcome back to another character creation video. My name is Lumin and today we're having a look at Dungeonborne. Dungeonborne is an immersive first-person PvPvE dungeon crawler that may or may not look a little familiar to you. Venture solo or join forces with trusted companions to hunt for treasure, explore ominous dungeons and battle terrifying monsters and cunning adversaries. Escape before succumbing to darkness and greed. So yeah, it's a extraction crawler. Not an extraction shooter like Tarkov, it's an extraction crawler like Dark and Darker, almost exactly like Dark and Darker, except it seems a whole lot more polished and a whole lot more pretty, which excites me greatly. So, we're going to jump in here and have a look at what's available. Before we do that, however, I will say that there are some links below if you'd like to do a deep dive to discover all there is to discover. You can also find the timestamps down there, so you can find what you're looking for and leave satisfied. If you're looking for the customization, then you can skip ahead by clicking on the male customization timestamp, or the female one, or the skeleton one, which was actually quite a nice surprise. So, as we jump in here now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at all the classes, their pros and cons, the abilities they have, and so on and so forth. Then, as I mentioned, we will customize a male character, and I'm going to say here at the start, all the male characters are the same. So, each of these different classes here, they have the same male template. There are no like special or unique options on any of them. They're the same. And that's the same for female as well. They're all the same if you switch between body type A or B. The females all look the same. So when you customize one, you customize them all. And then finally we have skeleton customization at the end. So, let's jump in. First class, Fighter. Versatile and balanced warriors adept at all forms of combat. They protect allies as tanks or lead the charge as courageous commanders. Their pros and cons: they are tanky, capable in melee combat, and can use most weapons. The con is that they are slow. That's kind of cool, actually. I mean, they look amazing. It's one of the first things that I noticed when I jumped in here. Overall, the model quality, the visual fidelity on pretty much everything. I mean, the characters' faces, their hair, the texture work on them, and then the armor and stuff. And this is sort of an ideal situation set that you've got here. You don't start with full plate mail like this. That would be too cool. They can't allow you to have the best looking armor in the game immediately, but it does look really good. I actually kind of wish that I could zoom in more on this. I really do. And you'll see when we start customizing the characters, you get to zoom in nice and close, and it really does hold up. Their weapons of choice: one-handed swords, two-handed swords, daggers, one-handed maces, shields, and crossbows. I may be mistaken, but this is, as far as I understand, pretty much everything except staves. So it's really a broad choice that you've got there. These guys are humans, so if you're playing a fighter, you are a human. I assume it could be possible that they'll add like more races later, or they might make some of the classes different races later. That would be kind of cool. I'd enjoy that. I don't know what other races there are in this world, but I'd like to see. They are great for adaptability, wisdom, and courage, and they are born adventurers. The skills that the fighter has: whirlwind, lift your equipped weapon and spin, striking surrounded enemies multiple times, while able to move around. It requires a two-handed sword. Then they have rush, quickly dash forward in a rush-in charge. Passive skills. Now, I'm not sure if this is all the skills. I imagine there are more. This might just be the ones you start with, or at least this might be the showcase skills. Haven't really played the game myself yet. I've only really been this far. So if you know anything about that, you can leave a comment and tell me. But the passives: Vengeful Riposte. After a successful block, briefly increase critical strike chance by a small amount. Weapon Mastery. Whirlwind increases physical resistance by a significant amount during the spin. Restraint. Cannot damage allies and cannot be damaged by allies. Fired Up. Gain a small amount of movement speed for 3 seconds after a rush skill. And finally, Proficiency. Whirlwind increases movement speed by a moderate amount while spinning, which is actually terrifying. And this is the way it looks between male and female, if you were interested. Not much of a difference, obviously, when you've got the full armor on, but yeah, I mean, the shoulders are slightly broader on the male. The armor shape doesn't really change. It's similar enough. Next, the Priest. Priests are vital to any adventuring team's survival. With the ability to heal and support their allies, they are essential to keep their team fighting strong. I don't know for sure, but I think they might be the only proper support class. This one Cryomancer or something at the end might have some sort of like utility, supporty stuff, but these guys are the only ones that heal. Pros and cons: healing allies, buffing allies. And the cons are Low damage output, weak in prolonged melee combat. Weapons of choice, one-handed mace, shields, and staves. These guys are also humans. And their skills, divine guidance. Heal target ally for a small amount of life. If no target is selected, heal self instead. Sustained casting increases effectiveness. This requires a staff, and they cannot heal undead targets. The cloth physics are really nice. And the textures in general on like the cloth and the armor and the weapons and stuff like that, just fantastic. Like really, really, really nice. I mean, I came here from, like, as an example, Dark and Darker's creation and customization, and that just looked janky and old compared to this. It was, you know, this is quite good. This looks quite fantastic. Then we have Divine Protection applies a shield to self and grants a moderate amount of movement speed. Pretty cool. Passives, Cleansing Rites. Divine Guidance can dispel one debuff from an ally. Resurrection, casting Divine Guidance on a fallen ally revives them. This ability can only be used once per adventure and is reset upon entering a portal. Recompense, Divine Protection now simultaneously shields surrounding allies. Faithful, gain a tiny amount of mana recovered per second at full life. And finally, Benediction, increases elemental damage of self by a small amount for 5 seconds after healing with Divine Guidance. It's pretty cool. I kind of like that. Female, looks like this. Body shape changes a little bit. Obviously, your hair and the other choices that you make on your face, they are somewhat obscured by the hood that you're wearing, but they look pretty cool. Next up, we have Rogue. Yeah, there we go. There's the male. There's the female, looking pretty cool with these daggers here. Masters of Stealth and Deception. Rogues excel at assassination, thievery, and deadly dagger attacks. Pros, high base movement speed, high base door interaction speed, high base looting speed, good at getting in and out of combat, and invisibility. Cons, squishy, and weak in prolonged melee combat. They prefer to sort of get in and out, quick, kill quick. Weapons of choice, one-handed swords, daggers, and crossbows. Then, they are humans, and their two abilities that they have here, Petrifying Poison, that coats melee weapons with poison. Next successful attack inflicts Petrify to the target. Petrify immobilizes the target and reduces incoming damage by 100% and breaks on damage taken. That's pretty cool. It's like a crowd control. Vanish. Enter stealth for 15 seconds. Attacks made while in stealth are guaranteed crits. Passive skill, Sleight of Hand, can steal items from enemies while in stealth. Featherfoot, ability to double jump. Ambush, increase lifesteal by a moderate amount while in stealth, disables when stealth breaks. Evaporate, enter stealth after killing an enemy. And Toxic Bolts. Petrifying Poison can now be applied to ranged weapons. This seems really fun. Like, they have a really cool sort of skill set that looks like it would be very active when you're actually playing. There's basically a lot going on. I feel like if you compare this to something like the Warrior, it'll be a different experience entirely. Kind of nice. Next up, this is a class that I did not expect to see, the Sword Master. To me, this is probably the most interesting looking one. Wandering warriors from the Far East that wield magic enchanted swords to perform powerful attacks. Though these abilities come at the cost of the swords that can only be equipped in their class-specific sword slots. Pros, strong ranged burst damage, which I really did not expect, but you'll see how that works in just a moment. Good at keeping enemies at a distance, and capable in melee combat. And then the cons, rely heavily on skills and resource intensive. They use one-handed swords, two-handed swords, shields, and crossbows. They have cool armor. This is some of the nicest looking, I guess you'd call it padded leather, that I've seen in a game. It flows nicely, it moves, you know, it's not too rigid. Just the sheer detail on it is pretty fantastic. I like the red shirt that they have underneath. I like how bulky certain parts of it are, like the hands, the gloves here. I wish I could actually see the full body here, but yeah. Anyway, they are humans. First ability, Psionic Blade. Summon up to 4 psionic swords from your class-specific sword slot that shoot toward enemies, dealing damage and restoring a small amount of life. The type of damage dealt is determined by the summoned sword's shot will be consumed. And then Whirling Blade. Summon 1 psionic sword from your class-specific sword slot that orbits around you, dealing small amounts of damage to nearby enemies for 8 seconds. The type of damage dealt is determined by the summoned swords, and summoned swords are consumed. Sounds kind of fun, right? It's a very different style of class, and you don't expect something called a Swordmaster to actually use these magical abilities. So that's kind of nice. And it looks to me like the Swordmaster might be one of the better solo classes, just because it has a bunch of healing and utility along with it. You'll see here now. Healing Scabbard, life recovery provided by Psionic Sword is increased by a significant amount. Psionic Marker, hidden enemy with Psionic Blades causes them to glow for 120 seconds. Deflection, during Whirling Blade gain a moderate amount of damage reduction. Momentum, hidden enemy with Psionic Blades increases critical strike chance by a moderate amount for 5 seconds. And Crippling Strike. If Psionic Blades land a critical strike on an enemy, it reduces their movement speed by a small amount. So they got some healing, they got some utility, and some nice damage, which can also be done at a range, which just sounds fantastic to me. It's a nice mix. Next up, Pyromancer. Man, I love the splash of color here. You know, it's sort of dark and dreary on all of these. Yeah, there's a little bit of blue here, some color here and there, and then you pop onto this one and boom, there's that cool looking it's really nice. Pyromancer is a mage who commands the power of fire, capable of delivering high burst damage from a distance. The Pyromancer can deal lethal blows to enemies. Pros, ranged burst damage, AoE damage, and magic weapon specialization. Cons, slow base movement speed dependent on positioning. Also actually sounds kind of fun. They use one-handed swords, staves, and shields. That's the male, that's the female. Kind of cool. I like the armor again. They are humans. Skills, Pyroblast. Hurl a fiery boulder that deals fire damage to targets within range. Channeling the cast increases effectiveness, and when starting to cast, draw in identified sources of fire from the surrounding to enhance fire damage. Requires a staff. So that's kind of sick. It most likely sucks up the flames from the braziers or torches or whatever in the surrounding area and makes your spell stronger. That's very cool. Like, that's got a nice class fantasy to it. It's sort of an immersive kind of thing where all the lights go out and you see this massive fireball just starting to glow in front of you. Fire Blast. Unleash a ring-shaped fiery shockwave, knocking back enemies and reducing their speed by a significant amount for a short duration. Then our passives are Rekindle, reset cooldown of Fire Blast on kill. Swift Casting, hidden enemy with Fire Blast grants Swift Casting for 10 seconds. Swift Casting reduces the channeling of your next Pyro Blast by half. Oh, that's kind of cool. Ignite. Pyroblast and Fire Blast apply Ignite to enemy targets. Ignite inflicts recurring fire damage over time. Enhanced Combustion increases the damage of Ignite applied and extends its duration. And Mana Surge. Restore a small amount of mana each time Ignite is triggered. That's pretty cool. Sounds nice, sounds fun. And here we have our first skeleton. It's actually fantastic. I love the way they look. So, Death Knight. Terrifying warrior that strikes fear into enemies at close range combat, capable of delivering sustained damage and pulling distant enemies into melee range. Pros, initiate in fights, melee AoE damage, and melee brawler. Cons, relies on soul energy, weak survival skills, and low sustainability. Their weapons are one-handed swords, two-handed swords, shields, and crossbows. And they are undead. The undead cannot be healed by holy magic and must collect the souls of living creatures through killing blows to restore their energy. Skills are Soul Shroud, summon a ring of unholy power around self, dealing recurring shadow damage to all nearby enemies for the duration. And Grasp of the Grave, fire a spectral chain at targets, pulling them to your side. Deal a small amount of shadow damage if it hits an enemy target. It's pretty cool. Very Death Knighty from World of Warcraft. Passive skills, Soul Reaper, reset the cooldown of Grasp of the Grave on kill. Lifesteal, restore a small amount of life for each soul essence absorbed. Grim Harvest, Grasp of the Grave generates a small amount of soul energy if it hits an enemy target. And Endless Binding, reduce the cooldown of Grasp of the Grave by 20 seconds if it hits an allied target. That's kind of cool. So you can maybe save allies with this. And our final one is Soul Explosion. When Soul Shroud ends, it deals shadow damage to all enemies within its area. If over 50 soul energy was spent during Soul Shroud, the shadow damage is significantly increased when it ends. Cool. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty cool. Our final class, the Cryomancer. Also undead, as you can see. There's no male or female choice on undead, but there is some customization. We'll get to that when we get to that. Spellcaster that harasses enemies with ranged AoE damage. With proper coordination, the Cryomancer excels at sculpting offensive landscapes that give their team the upper hand. So this one's all about like utility and I suppose like a little bit of crowd control. Pros, ranged AoE crowd control, strong survival skills, and high sustainability. That's really cool. The cons are requires sustained casting and low burst damage. I actually really like the sound of this one, but this is one of those where you really need a team, I think. One-handed swords, staves, and shields. Once again, same as the previous one, undead. Skills, Ice Storm. Summon a mobile and expanding Ice Storm that stops and casts Blizzard at max size, dealing a small amount of cold damage and gradually freezing enemies within its range. Requires a staff. Ice Barrier. Encases self in an icy barrier, becoming immune to damage and regenerating life over time. Can be deactivated at will. The passive skills here. Frostbite. Ice Storm's initial phase damages enemies and reduces their movement speed by a small amount. Winter's Wrath. Increase Ice Storm's AoE in its second phase. Shattering Ice. When Ice Barrier is lifted, it shatters and freezes nearby enemies, with the freeze duration matching that of Ice Storm. Soul Freeze, gain a small amount of soul energy when Ice Storm freezes an enemy. And finally, Permafrost, increase the freeze duration by 2 seconds for Ice Storm and Shattering Ice. Cool. Very cool. Now, with all of that done, that's all the classes available. Once again, it's the Fighter, the Priest, the Rogue, the Swordmaster, Pyromancer, Death Knight, and Cryomancer. We are now going to be jumping into Customize. Let us begin on the human male. I'm just going to go on this guy because he doesn't have anything obscuring his face when we actually jump in. This was a welcome and very positive surprise for me. The amount of customization options available. I was truly pleasantly surprised because I expected it to be sort of a dark and darker situation where you sort of get what you get and you don't get upset. This one, it's much different. They actually have a lot of stuff here, and they actually have models that, in my opinion, look pretty fantastic. Now, this is the starting point for human male, and this is the first screen. Don't think that this is all of it. I actually initially jumped in here. I thought, this is all right, but... So no, there's more. But you first get to pick your presets, and I honestly believe the presets are reasonably decent as starting points. So you can pick any one of these 4 guys, and you can see as you pick them, they skip through the different parts here. I think that they could have sort of, perhaps done some more interesting stuff with the presets. I get that they went with the ethnicities here. They got the white dude, they got the Indian dude, they got the black dude, they got the Asian dude. Yeah. Sure. Okay. But they could have made the hair different colors or something like that. Maybe could have done a little bit more with the smaller details. But overall, I really like the way they look. You've got a bit of everything here in terms of the face shape, the actual structure of the face, and I'm pretty certain that if you just pick one of these and one of the faces you want or whatever, you go with one of these, then you'll be able to craft something that you like. Now, the way this works is you can pick any one of these guys here. It doesn't really matter. You're not really locking yourself into anything with them. So if I take this guy, for instance, I can actually take the Asian preset, change the face on it to any of the others. I could take this guy over here, change the face to any of the others, and so on and so forth. Same with the skin tones. So the skin tones available, they're fine. I mean, I would say 1 or 2 shades darker would be nice, but overall these skin tones are fine. The pale is there. That's kind of what we want. I've realized from my Hogwarts Legacy video that people want pale characters. For some reason, everyone that went to Hogwarts, they just have tans. Everyone has a tan, which it actually makes no sense. But yeah, it's a grim reality of that game's character creation system. So it's nice having the skin tones. And the pale one, yeah, it's pale enough. And the dark one, I suppose it's dark enough. They've got some cooler tones. They've got some warmer tones. It's all right. The eyes on the male characters, they are not all that impactful. There are some choices here. They are not grounded in reality so much. You have like these violet eyes. You have these like red ones. This is like, yeah, there's the yellow eyes, and there are some decent choices, right? But they don't really pop all that much. In my opinion, they look better on the female characters, which you'll see soon. Once you're done with this stuff, jump onto the next menu. Then you get to change your hair. I really like the hair in this game. I personally believe it's some of the better hair that I've seen recently. The longer styles, they look alright. They look quite good, but like some of the others to me look pretty fantastic. Like specifically the dreads are really nice that they have. And I mean, overall, the fact that they all look the the styles that you have here, and when you apply the different colors, it all looks so vibrant and full of life. It looks like good hair, you know? And it's stuck on the head nicely. The texture work is great. There's a lot of detail in there. I'm kind of impressed by it, to be honest. I didn't expect to be impressed by it. So yeah, and there's actually some really nice short styles, which I was also surprised by, because for whatever reason it seems to be a trend right now where these game devs are putting all these like really long fancy ass styles in here, but then they neglect to just put a couple of straightforward short styles in. Like, come on, man. What the hell? And it's silly because, like, I always say, and like every damn time I jump into these, I'm like, hey man, just put the female styles on the male, put the male styles on the female, just share them around. There's no reason. It's like there is no such thing as a female hairstyle. There's no such thing. So like, why? You know, why limit anyone? Give everyone all the options, damn it. Don't think that I'm ranting at this game, okay? This hair is really nice. So you can take the facial hair off, and this is another one of those pleasant surprises where you sort of jump in here and you're like, whoa, damn, look at that jawline. This guy's chiseled to perfection. Look at his mouth. This is one of those faces where if you put it into like an AI app or something, it'll tell you that this is literally the perfect face. It's actually super impressive. The facial hair looks kind of nice. I like the representation in here. They have some really nice, solid, thick-looking beards with, once again, some decent texture work. I do wish we could zoom in further. But then they have these scrappy ones that make me feel like I've been seen. You know, they got these beards that just... where you sort of feel sorry for the guy a little bit. And yeah, I mean, that makes me feel at home because, like, man, me trying to grow a beard, oof. This one's fantastic as well. I mean, there's always room for more, but honestly, I do think that they've got more than enough here. This is my take on it. If I had to, like, nitpick, I would say that it would be nice if they could put a little bit of a stubble texture underneath here to make it look more, you know, stuck on, just on the shorter styles maybe. But the longer ones, they look fantastic. Like this one specifically, and the other long one, this one, they look great. They look great. There's like really no complaints here, right? Big fan. And again, the male characters just look like awesome. The texture work on the face, the lines, man, everything. It's well done. So, hair colors. This is what I was saying earlier. Really, really nice hair colors. They sort of show nicely. They've got this weird, I'm not going to say it's like a two-tone thing, but they've got like built-in highlights. And honestly, I think it does the game a great service. Like they honestly, they enhance the colors that they're giving you here quite a lot by adding this two-tone effect to it. Yeah, it would be kind of cool if they allowed you to customize it, but at the end of the day, I don't really see that as being something that we desperately need. I like the colors. They're not translating like one-to-one from this to that. Not all of them at least. Specifically like the pink and these blue ones here. They don't look exactly like what they're giving you. But the color that is actually being applied to the hair is really nice. Personally, I like the black and the red the most. They both look really nice. But yeah, decent selection. Decent selection. We're going to take the facial hair off for the next part because we have some markings. Here we go. Now, as I jump into these, I'm going to say these are the same on male and female. There's not a whole lot going on here. You can see you got like 9 markings. And I mean, they're okay. They're okay. I kind of like it when they have these slightly more subtle ones. That's generally what I would pick if I'm going to be picking some markings. But these ones are fine. It's an okay selection, nothing too special. I would not be surprised if they added stuff like markings into like an in-game store or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. And I mean, I wouldn't really be saddened by that. I wouldn't really care. Because, you know, I don't have to spend my money on it. They can add it to the game. If it doesn't slow down the dev time or whatever, then what does it matter, you know? Maybe they got the team that specially works on that, working on that. It's cool. These colors, not quite what you... Like, this is a red and it's giving us a pink here. That's a pink and it's giving us a purple here. I'm not quite sure how that happened. The blue is not very blue. It's more of a green. I don't know, man. The colors, not perfect, but they are more than enough. As far as I'm concerned. I feel like for face paints, you need red, you need blue, you need white, you need black, and that's like it. The others are really just extras. But there you go. That is it. That is how you customize a human male in Dungeonborne. Decent options. Great stuff. Once again, there's a lot available here. I do wish I could randomize a little bit just to see some of the different options. But with the presets here, you could probably get enough. You could just pick one, change one or two things, and you're done. Let's jump out and let's look at the females. I prefer the female customization overall, but only by a little bit. I really like what they have on show here. Your presets are... they pretty much mirror in the male ones, where you have a white lady here, you have the Indian preset, the black lady, and the Asian one. And they all look relatively decent. I think they're kind of cool. We'll go with this one for now, and I'm going to show you how it works. Basically, as you jump through them, you'll see that they lock on to different face variations, different skin tones, and so on and so forth, different eye colors as well. Obviously, the different hairstyles, but the preset that you pick in here, it's just a serving suggestion. So you sort of pick in one, and then you can change basically all the other stuff. So if I like that one, but I prefer that face, I can do that. And you know, I can just switch it up as much as I like. Doesn't really matter, you know. So you pick what you want here, and then you get started. You get to work. I'm going to take this one so that the hair isn't too much in the face. And then let's look at the skin tones. Mentioned on the male side of things, I do believe that they have enough. 1 or 2 shades darker would be cool, but the pale ones here are more than I would require. It's important, apparently, to people in 2024 to have pale skin tones available, just because. I don't know. I guess it makes them feel like they've found their home. Eye colors. I said before that on male, I don't really like how the eyes show. On female, specifically on like some of the other faces, this one less so, but like as an example on this face, you have pretty large eyes. There's a lot of real estate there. You can sort of see it from a decent distance away. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But they are overall just okay, the eye colors. It's good that we have a choice. That's good. Next menu, hairstyles. So, let us begin. I like the way the hair is done in this game. The texture work on the hair is great. You have a lot of fine detail in there. I do believe it would be cool if we had the male and female hairstyles on both male and female. These hidden braids here are really nice. There isn't so much hair physics going on here, where with the armor and stuff we saw there was like full cloth physics and stuff. I think it's okay. I don't think you always need it, because more often than not, there's a large performance hit for stuff like hair physics, and it sort of ends up looking janky, more so than actually good. So, to be honest, I'm happy with there not being hair physics if it looks nice enough, and it really does look quite nice. This is a fantastic style, but this is one of those styles where I'm like, hey, why the hell is this not on male? Nice curly, wavy styles here. Pretty cool. I like these. I like these. My only complaint, once again, as I mentioned, is that I'd like to see the shorter styles on female as well. It might just be a me thing, but it doesn't matter. You should put all the styles on all the characters. That said, and as one final thing about the hair, I like it. It's good. You can't do facial hair on the females, which is kind of regrettable. The hair colors, very, very nice. I mentioned that I have noticed they all have like a two-tone kind of thing, where they have the lighter colors as the hair grows out, and closer to the roots they have the darker shades. It's kind of nice. Kind of realistic as well, I guess, with a lot of the colors, because, you know, the hair that's been out there longer might change its color a little bit because it gets more sun or anything like that. It's whatever. Maybe the dye is growing out, you know. These colored styles, like the blues, the greens, the pinks, and the reds, they look nice. They really do look nice when you actually put them on, but they aren't so much the color that they advertise in here. The green is pretty close. The pink, however, I don't know, and the blue, little bit. But overall, again, I really like what they've done with the hair. The hair itself looks fantastic, and it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up. Final options, markings. Here we go. Same as on male. Not the same as on the skeletons. Skeletons have their own markings. But decent options nonetheless. I do feel like they could add more to this quite easily, but at the same time, I'd love to see the statistics, like actual statistics of who even uses tattoos and markings. I believe the vast majority of players do not use markings, but I mean, I might be wrong. Colors, we've got the black, the brown, the red, which is a pink, the purple, blue, this pale green, and white. It's okay. yeah, the markings are fine. Nothing to complain about here. I kind of like them. It's cool. Yeah, and that brings us to the end of the female customization. Overall, kind of prefer it to male, but I want to say, like, the males with the facial hair, they do look more impressive. I think that's the word I would use. Just because, again, like the facial hair detail and texture work and the individual strands and the overall look and feel of the facial hair just pushes it over, in my opinion, and makes it look that much more impressive. Our final port of call, the undead customization. Let's go on to the other one so that we don't have that armor in the way. You don't get too much here, which is deeply regrettable, and I hope that at some point they'll add a little bit more to it. You don't have any presets, there are no face variations, you are a skeleton. You know, if you wanted all your teeth intact, that's just too bad. If you wanted something in the eye sockets other than what we have right now, well, that's too bad as well. You get what you get. That's it. So, skin tones, you get to change these. They change sort of... I don't know how much they change. It's like by minute amounts. These are teeny weeny variations. Granted, this one is a little bit like it's a little warmer in its tone, and like the cold one is definitely a little cooler in its tone. But like, there's really not much going on here. I again would not be surprised if at some point they sold like glowing red eyes or something like that in the in-game store. If there is an in-game store, I don't even know if there is one. I don't know, but there's like a whole lot of room for improvement here. And they could do this really easily. Like, you're not going to tell me that they couldn't just change that glow from the greeny pale color that they have there to red. That would be easy. Hairstyles. There are a couple. It's like, that's it. There you go. I mean, you have to pick this one, right? You absolutely have to pick this one. There's no facial hair. You can change the color of the hair, and at least that is sort of fully implemented and working. I mean, we have that at least, right? We have all the hair colors on the skeletons. I do feel a little sad for my skeleton bros. Everyone jumps in here and wants to play a skeleton. Yeah, man, you guys, you were done dirty with this. And I'm right there with you. I'll campaign for more options for skeleton. Next one, we have a few markings. Let's check them out. I actually really like the markings. I would have preferred these markings on the human characters. They look slightly more exciting. Somewhat all-encompassing. But yeah, there you go. I personally really like these ones. Like these runes or whatever. You can change the color on these if you so desire. And then you are done. That's it for the customization. We are finished. And as I jump into the outro now, I will just say, in terms of the classes, I'm thoroughly impressed by the variety that they have here. They all seem like they could be a whole lot of fun. I dig it. I think that I would actually struggle to pick one that I'd like to play first, just because they all look kind of interesting, right? And then, for the customization, yeah, it's good. It's good. For this kind of game, I didn't expect to really see anything here. I honestly jumped in and I thought that first menu with the presets was it. And I was like, well, this is actually okay. But then, lo and behold, there were like 3 more menus. And in terms of what they've done with the texture work on the faces, with the stuff that they've done with the hair and the facial hair and stuff like that, the overall quality of the models is actually pretty great. Now, I don't know how well it translates into the game when you're actually running around there, how much you actually see these options, because based on the character creation menu here, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking you're going to be shrouded by a hood or a mask or a helmet or something like that most of the time, so it might not matter all that much, but you still want your character to look cool. You want to make a nice looking character, and the game seems to give a decent number of options to do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of impressed. Really. And like, if you compare it to the other games in this subgenre, you know, it's head and shoulders, it's miles above what the other games have. So yeah, man, for like a starting point, because this is just a demo, I think that they've done phenomenally, and I think that if they keep building on this, they'll have the best in slot, you know, they'll have the best customization. So yeah, I kind of like it. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the classes and about the customization. We're able to make something that you enjoyed and liked the look of. Again, I personally would struggle a little bit with the choices for class, but for customization, yeah, I'd probably get that done a little quicker. There's a lot of cool options that I would want to pick. So let me know. If you haven't already, you can give this video a like and share it and do all that other good stuff. You can find my links below, my coffee page if you want to throw money at me, or my Twitch channel if you want to come watch all of this stuff happen live. Yeah. There you go. Thanks for watching. Happy that.